When I first caught word of the Strike Movement Pace, I was really excited. The original Pace was one of my favorite training shoes of all time, so I was really excited to hear that they were coming out with an updated model. Now, when they sent me the Pace, they also sent me another shoe, and then when I opened a box of this shoe, I was blown away. That shoe was the Interval Knit. Not only did they look really sick, they also have one thing that I had been begging for the intervals to have for a long time, and that is the cross-platform midsole-outsole combination. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Pace for being an amazing shoe. If you watch my review on those, I really liked them, but the Interval Knits are next level stuff, and these are probably my favorite shoe from Strike Movement at the moment. So build quality and construction, I gave these shoes a 6 out of 6. The build quality is impeccable, like most Strike Movement shoes. The upper build of the Interval Knits is, of course, knit material, but the knit that Strike Movement is using is different than like Fly Knit or Ultra Knit. It's not really stretchy. It doesn't really have any elasticity to it. It's actually just a knit material, and I mean, I guess it's aptly named tight knit. The construction actually has the laminated panels of the original Interval inside of the knit material to give the shoe more structure. If you look at the exterior of the original Intervals, they have like laminated panels all throughout, and it's kind of what creates the separations in the upper material of the shoe. Now, the ankle collar is a Kevlar ankle collar, and it's the same material that you'll find on the toe box of the Pace. So it's the softest of those Kevlars, but it's probably the most rigid part of the Interval Knits. The tongue of the Interval Knits is similar to the one that's found on the Pace. It's the 3D tongue system that they have, where it wraps all the way around the midfoot, and it gives you kind of like a booty-like feel. The laces are thick, really nice. They tied like that. Of course, you have the pleasure pocket, like all Strike Movement shoes, where you can just kind of tuck the laces all up in there and wear these shoes as a slip-on. If you wanted to get a better and more competition-style fit, then of course you could lace them up, and there is another lace so that you can lace lock your shoes as well. No real TPU heel counter or anything, but this part back here is a little bit more stiff than the rest of the shoe. So the upper structure for being a knit shoe is a little bit more solid than you'll find on like the more elastic knit materials, which I personally like. Now, in the inside of the shoe, you have the dual durometer insole, which I like to think as a second midsole, kind of. It gives you a little bit more bounce to your step and a little bit of cushion at the same time. Now, finally, we have the cross-platform midsole-outsole combination, which on the Lunar Gray model has a speckled design to it, which I really like, and I wish they put that on the black one as well. And then you've got the multi-directional, really grippy outsole that does hold up to rope climbs really well. This shoe should be rope ready, but personally, that's not something I want to test due to the knit upper. I personally have a dedicated pair of rope climbing shoes, and you probably do too, so you could probably skip rope climbing in your Interval Knits. So for fit, I gave these shoes a 6 out of 6. The knit upper really opens up the shoe and makes the fit a lot more forgiving. These are the widest of all the Strike Movement shoes. They're not a super wide shoe. They're like not Nano 8 wide or anything, but they are one of the widest of Strike Movement's shoes. And I think wide footers or people that needed to size up half a size can actually go down back to their normal size in the Interval Knits. Now, like I said, the upper material is not stretchy or anything, but it is very roomy inside of this shoe. I sized this as a men's 10, and it fits my foot perfectly. All of my other training shoes, my Metcons, my Nanos, are size 10 as well, so this falls right in line. So I guess if you wanted to say it's true to size, the fit is true to size. For flexibility and comfort, I gave the Interval Knits a 5.5 out of 6. Strike Movement is known for making extremely flexible shoes, and the Interval Knits are no different. The shoes are flexible from heel to toe. There is no kind of like hip midfoot shanks. The shoe will move with your feet as intended. Of course, the cross platform is a little bit more rigid than the stable platform is, so if you wanted something that is a little bit softer and had a little bit more of a higher drop and is a little bit easier to run in for longer distances, then I would probably go with something with the stable platform, just like the normal interval. But if you wanted a minimalist training shoe that had a 2.5 millimeter drop, a low stack height, was very good with ground feel, responsiveness, and had an okay amount of cushioning, then I would go with the interval knits. There's nothing that I have done in these shoes so far that I had found uncomfortable. Box jumps, burpees, double unders, you name it, these are one of the best Metcon shoes out there. For stability, I gave these shoes a 4.5 out of 6. Of course, they have a knit upper, and with knit comes a little bit more flexibility. With flexibility comes a loss of stability. So even though I was able to do all my lifting in these shoes just fine, I wouldn't say that they are the best shoe for Olympic weightlifting or powerlifting. Probably better for powerlifting than Olympic weightlifting. But overall, I had no issues lifting in these shoes, and like the other shoes in Strike Movement's lineup, I think the cross platform is excellent for power delivery. The loss of stability in these shoes mainly comes from the fact that there's not a ton of lateral support keeping your foot in place in these shoes, but it's still better than a lot of other knit shoes that have flexible uppers. This upper at least keeps your foot in place a little bit better. Not a terrible shoe for weightlifting movements, but also not the best. For value, I gave these shoes a 5 out of 6. They retail for $129. That falls in line with all of the other top shelf training shoes, the 908, the Metcon 4, the Noble Trainer. They all retail for $130 at their base MSRP. Whether or not you can find them on discount is subjective. Now, for $130, you're getting a shoe that is pretty much on par as far as performance goes with all the other shoes. I think the Nano 8s are a little bit more comfortable. I think the Metcon 4s are a little bit more stable, and the Strike Movement intervals fall somewhere in between those two shoes as far as stability and comfort go. Overall, I think these are one of the better training shoes, and probably in my top 3 training shoes right now. I'd say Nano 8s, Metcon Free, and then Interval Knits would be my first 3 or my top 3 training shoe picks. So $130, you're getting one of the best training shoes out there. Personally, I would take these over the Pace just because I prefer the fit, and when it comes to like flexibility, these are a little bit better. When it comes to stability, they're not as good, but it's a very marginal difference, and those cost $10 more. But if you needed a more durable shoe, then of course go with the Pace because of the Kevlar materials. Otherwise, I would go with the Interval Knits. I think they are also a little bit more fashionable. They're a little bit easier to style. I actually think that they're really good looking shoes, but of course looks are all subjective, so that's all up to you. One thing that I wish Strike Movement would do is give free shipping. I think shipping retails for like 15 bucks. So that might be a deal breaker for some people. But otherwise, I think $130 is a fair price to pay for the Interval Knits. The final score of the Interval Knits is going to be 27 out of 30 points. They earned my highly recommended ranking. I think that these are one of the best training shoes out there right now. In my opinion, they're also one of the best looking ones. If you have like Nano 8s or you have the Metcon Frees already, go ahead and give these shoes a shot. I think you will not be disappointed. If you were reluctant to try out Strike Movement shoes in the past, or you didn't like the midfoot wrap, then you might want to try these ones out because they also do have a slightly wider platform. The Interval Knits are one of the more complete training shoes on the market, and like I said, I highly recommend them. If you guys have any questions about the Interval Knits, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.